Hey guys, so Genshin 4.7 has just come out, and with that, 𝐂𝐿 has finally brought us the character we've all been waiting for, Clorinde. Today, we're going to be reviewing Clorinde at C0, and essentially we're going to be going over things like what kind of damage does she do, pros, cons, and is she fun to use. But to start off, let's talk about what Clorinde actually does. Now, Clorinde is like a lot of other characters in that her E skill puts her in a special infused state, and that's essentially where all her damage comes from. Other characters to think of here are like Ayato, the Wanderer, and Chiori. Now, where Clorinde is different from those characters is that she also uses the Bond of Life. The Bond of Life can seem complicated on Clorinde, but it's actually really simple, and as soon as you get the hang of it, like, I've noticed that I don't even think about it or pay attention to it anymore. But basically, the way that she works is that after using Clorinde's E skill, you will go into her enhanced Night Vigil state. When you're in the Night Vigil state, you essentially have two different moves that you can do. The first is if you press the normal attack button, Clorinde will fire a very quick shot from her pistol. You're going to be doing this attack a lot, and under most circumstances, it is the main thing that she does. What makes this attack so important is that it does restore your Bond of Life up to halfway. So getting the Bond of Life on her is like really easy, and it's never a thing that you actually have to worry about. Now, whenever you do get her Bond of Life up, it is time to use her other attack. So if you use her E skill while in her Night Vigil state, Clorinde will do this sort of lunging attack with her sword. This move will consume all of your Bond of Life and do increased damage and heal Clorinde based on how much Bond of Life you had. You do not need to have the Bond of Life to use this attack. It will still work if you want to like spam it, but from a damage standpoint, it is better if you just charge up Clorinde's Bond before using it. But yeah, that's essentially Clorinde. You are constantly building and spending the Bond of Life through her different attacks. Now, there are a couple different ways you can build the Bond of Life on Clorinde. Obviously, you can use her normals in her enhanced state, but you can also use her burst. Her burst is kind of just another one of those ka-ching-like generic bursts. It looks gorgeous, like it really does. It is probably the best looking burst in the game, but it also does give you the Bond of Life. And I believe every talent level that you increase also increases the percentage of Bond of Life it gives you. Another way that you can get the Bond of Life is that Clorinde does have this freaking awesome passive in her E skill, and like it's kind of funny because it's not even a passive ability, like it is just a line of text that is there on the E skill, but essentially it says that any healing she receives in her Night Vigil state will instead be turned into Bond of Life for her. So you can imagine a few ways that you can really feed healing into Clorinde. You know, it's funny because I think everybody was a little frustrated that Benny was on the banner. I felt like he had already been on a few banners already, but he is an absolutely fantastic option to use with Clorinde because he does heal a lot, and that is a lot of extra Bond of Life. And then, of course, we also all know how much he increases your attack. So overall, Bennett is just a really good option. But overall, yeah, that's Clorinde. Use her E skill, build the Bond of Life, spend it, and repeat. Now, to answer the question of does she do good damage, the short answer is yes, definitely. And the long answer is fuck yes. Wow. No, seriously, listen, there's always context to these things, but just like any character, their damage will depend on their build, their artifacts, and the supports you choose to run with them. But I am highly impressed with my Clorinde's damage at C0. So this is my build super quick. I have changed it around quite a lot since I got her, but currently I am running 87 over 240. I do have the Haran on her, and of course I do have a 4-piece gladiator. Now my pieces are honestly kind of goated, like I understand that, but even if my Clorinde did less damage than she does, I still think I'd be pretty impressed and happy with that. And I'll touch on that a little bit more later. But to show you what kind of damage I'm hitting here, this is floor 11 of the Spiral Abyss, and I am just smoking dudes left and right, you know? So like everything considered, you know, I'm hitting like 20k every like third of a second, and I even think those E skills are getting up into the mid 20s, but Clorinde hits so fast, like honestly, it's kind of hard to tell sometimes. For her own personal damage, this is not the highest I've ever hit with Clorinde. I've noticed I can get up to the high 20s with Farina, but like I kind of really just prefer running Beto and Yelan with her. I find that to be a really fun and comfortable team, so I'm kind of cool with not doing as much damage. But like on floor 11 or 12, I've noticed that my Clorinde was keeping up and even at one point finishing her floor faster than my C4 Raiden. And of course, kind of like I said in the beginning, there is always context to this, right? Like, which enemies were you fighting, electro res, stuff like that. But the fact that this is even a conversation, I believe tells you everything you need to know about Clorinde. You know, it's kind of funny to say, but I am so satisfied with her damage that I do not feel the need to pull her signature weapon or her constellations. And at least not in the way of like a character that feels unfinished. You know, I think sometimes we go through or we get this feeling where when you get a new character and you're really excited to get them, but they kind of feel incomplete, or it feels like if you just got that C1 or the C2, then you would get the character that you thought you were getting. And there's like a little bit of this like sunken cost aspect of it. I don't get that with Clorinde. Like I am completely satisfied and happy exactly the way she is at C0, you know, and it's become a little bit sad to say, but I think that is kind of becoming a rare thing in Genshin. To talk about her pros or the things that are good about her, there are a few things that I've noticed in the couple days that I've had her. One is that she kind of fulfills the dream that we all had with Raiden Shogun. Like, whenever Raiden came out, a lot of people wanted to run her with Beidou, you know, just because it seemed like a natural fit and a really, really fun thing to do. And then they hit us with the elemental burst, doesn't trigger normal attacks, and so the two of them don't work together at all, and even to this day, it's pretty fucking disappointing. Another one is the Electro Traveler. The Electro Traveler is actually really good, and kind of in some ways another Beidou, but he doesn't work with his Archon, and so it's kind of just got this really weird feeling to it, because you have this awesome character that you love to use, but she doesn't work with some of the people you want to run with her, and like it's frustrating, and I just don't have that problem for Clorinde. Another pro for Clorinde is that she is very, very easy to build. There are a lot of weapons to use for her, premium and free to play, and there are also a lot of artifacts that work well with her. Now, obviously, we do have that new Bond of Life set, and it is super good on her, but is it a huge drop off from Gladiator? No, not really. You know, like, can you use Shimenawa? Yes, you can. Can you use Thundering Fury? Well, some people actually think it's her best artifact set, you know, and, you know, you can mix and match, you know, two pieces and it's fine. She is not super energy dependent where you're always wondering about her energy recharge, and she does give herself like a fuck ton of crit rate, you know, so like Clorinde is just super, super good, and there's a lot of teams you can run with her. So like any assortment of Dendro team you can think of besides like Nilou, and personally I don't even enjoy Dendro teams, but I've been using this Taser team that I'm really happy with. The Overload team's damage was really good, and honestly, if you just have like a moderately built Yunjin, you can kind of just use her with whoever you want. And one last thing, in a lot of circumstances, you don't actually need to run a healer with her, you know? And like, you can if you want to, and for some of the harder content, you probably should. But Clorinde heals herself a lot, you know? And so I really love the idea of running 3 supports that are just going to increase your damage. So, you know, like overall, major brownie points for Clorinde. Now, let's talk about the cons, or what I don't like about Clorinde. I hope you don't judge me for what I'm about to say, but the truth is, I don't know. Like, like I don't know, honestly, if there's anything wrong with her. And I'm sure after a certain amount of time, something will present itself. But playing with her for 48 hours, I just really can't find anything that isn't good. And I don't know. I mean, I guess something I can think of is that you are incentivized to run her with electro reaction teams because of her passive. But, you know, I don't know. So maybe you wouldn't, you know, want to run her in mono electro. But like, even then, you know, if I just run her with Yunjin and whoever else I want, that almost always ends up working, you know. But like, if you do want to run her solo, she probably isn't good for that. But I think you can probably say that about most characters. And listen, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be biased. This is literally just my honest experience after playing her for a couple days. And so far, I just don't have any issues with her outside of feeling like I should run reactions. And like I said, they could present themselves in the future, but so far, she's pretty fucking awesome. To move on to our final section, and this is the most important section to me, is she fun? 10 out of 10, I believe that this is the funnest character Genshin has ever had. And honestly, I don't even think it's that close. Now, before we go any further, there is the trial, and you can see for yourself if you actually like her or not. But wow, you know, she is just so fast, and there's so much going on the screen. I absolutely love it. The natural rotation for Clorinde is to do 3 normal attacks into an E skill. This is so fluid and so much fun. And then to tack on the other characters that you add, like Yelan or Beidou, Nahida, whoever it is is just utter complete mayhem, and it is so satisfying. You know, I find it really funny that Clorinde was conveniently released 2 weeks after Wuthering Waves. Like, we get this awesome, super fast character that a lot of people can't get enough of, and Hoyoverse knew exactly what they were doing. And also them leaving her as pretty much the last character to release in the Fontaine series, knowing that if we got her in the beginning that we probably wouldn't pull anybody else. I don't know, it's funny and maybe a little bit sad thinking back on. Look, I know fun is subjective, and all I'm telling you is just to give it a try, right? Do the trial, see what you think. If you don't like her, don't pull her. Like, you should not pull characters because they're good. You should pull characters because you like them and they make you happy. You know, but for me, Clorinde 1000% fits that mark. And if you do have Clorinde, and this is going to be the next video, but running her with increased attack speed is dangerously satisfying. It is just one of the coolest things that I've ever seen in a game, and like I said, you'll see more on it later. So to wrap up my final thoughts, I do have to give Clorinde a 10 out of 10. In my opinion, and yes, it's just an opinion, I think Clorinde is the best character in Genshin Impact, and I'm not even sure that it's that close. You know, like, now, is she the strongest? She is very, very strong, but, you know, maybe not. Does she work on her own? Kinda, I guess. Does she change the meta? No, she does not. But she does exactly what a Genshin character is supposed to do. She is deeply satisfying and fun to play. She works with the characters you want to use with her, and she does enough damage to clear anything you want in this game. You know, like, she just checks all of the boxes, and that's my opinion on Clorinde. All right, guys, well, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure you go and pull Clorinde. All right, guys, well, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you in the next one. All right, peace.